The free agent crop of safeties is absolutely loaded, and it just got even deeper. Folks, we're going to break down all of it today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who make Locked On NFL Scouting your first listen every day, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase.
Joe, there's so much happening right now, and not even all of it is football. Are you aware of the boxing match that was just announced?
Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul
on Netflix this summer. Like, this just came out 15 minutes ago. And I am rooting for Iron Mike so hard.
Dude, I grew up and Mike Tyson was a big deal in our household, man. My dad got every pay-per-view fight.
And he really?
Watched. Yeah, dude, it was a big deal. So I've always been a big Mike Tyson fan. And so I don't know what's the deal with this Jake Paul guy. I feel like I don't really know who he is, but he fights people all the time.
He does fight people all the time. The Pauls are kind of like internet sensation.
That's what he is. He's an internet sensation. That's what he is. He's not an athlete. He's not an actor. He's not a singer.
He is an athlete now, but like, he didn't start as a boxer. He started as like a content creator online.
So he's this average guy that just keeps fighting people
because he has decided he wants to be a boxer. And
are the fights good? Is he competitive?
There's some speculation about the integrity of the fights, but like, and I don't know. I have gained so much more appreciation of the breadth of Mike Tyson when you listen to him speak kind of in his later years and the journey that he's been through and his spirituality and his life experiences and his perspective on stuff. I don't know, like an old warrior that you listen to talk about like the perspective of like the highs and lows and the sins and everything. And I don't know. So fired up for Mike to be back in the ring. But yeah, just had the Jake Paul hopping off the helicopter with Mike Tyson waiting for him on the rooftop, the face off. And I was like, oh man, this might be even bigger news than Justin Simmons getting cut by the Broncos to add to our safety class.
I'd say listeners of this podcast are much more dialed in on the safety class, right? Football people are here with us.
You know, man, this is a great call out from Kyle, who I know is a listener of the show, not me. I do listen to the show as well. But he just tweeted me 6 minutes ago and said the Cardinals fans want to keep telling themselves the team is going to give up a day 2 pick for Budda Baker. Remember when Budda Baker asked for a trade and they figured that thing out last summer and they gave a pay raise?
Yeah.
You better stick with Budda.
No, nobody's trading for your safeties right now, folks.
Right.
Nobody's trading for them because this crop is just insanely loaded. And we came on this podcast today to talk cornerbacks and linebackers. We into the pre-show, Justin Simmons gets released. We just see Kevin Byard, Jordan Poyer, Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams are like, we got to do safeties today. And so, Kyle, there's 20 starting caliber safeties available on the free agent market.
It's incredible. Right. So, and it's been boosted by 4 veteran players. First, it was Eddie Jackson with Chicago. I mean, Eddie's at the late stage portions of his career. There's been some durability stuff. Like, I get it. There's not a lot of super enthusiasm there. Byard gets cut by Philly as a cap savings maneuver for them. You kind of knew based on what they traded, there wasn't a lot invested there long term. It was a high salary amount. But then Quandre Diggs and Justin Simmons in the last 36 hours, those shoes have fallen. And like those guys can still like really play. Like I think they're the best two of the cuts to go along with Xavier McKinney. So you thought the safety class, there was talent at the top, but then it's still really deep. Well, Winfield gets the tag, Kyle Duggar gets the transition tag. You say, okay, that takes away from the luster at the top a little bit. And then they get replaced with Quandre Diggs and Justin Simmons.
Not to mention, like you said, Xavier McKinney, who's a stud, and Kamren Curl, who I know you're not vibing with Kamren Curl. I think most people do. I think he's going to get a big payday, one of the younger, more attractive options out here. Kyle, it's endless. And so, like, we're going to talk more about the players, but I feel like there's been some real conversations that have existed throughout the years about corners, safeties, valuation, and you think, well, a corner you can play on a side, and safeties you can put them all over the place. Do safeties have more value? Like, you're seeing teams playing more split zone coverages, right? It's more too high, more quarters. Is that taking away from the valuation of safeties?
Yes.
Where it's like, hey guys, we just need you to keep it all in front of you. Like that's what we need you to do, and come down and tackle. Sometimes is the transition of how offenses are starting to play with more heavy personnel taking away from kind of the valuation of the safeties?
Yeah, because I think about some of the trends across the league. And one of the schemes that's really caught fire the last 3 years is the Fangio scheme, right? Because of the success that it had against McVay's Rams when they were first humming. And then he gets the head coaching job in Denver, doesn't work out. But then, like, the Fangio scheme still is super coveted. And one of the principles of the Fangio scheme, and it was like an issue in Miami this year before he left for Philadelphia, was, well, we're going to keep the pre-snap presentation as vanilla as possible. So this whole like sexy subplot of safeties as positionless type players that can get moved around and play in different spots. If you do that, you're kind of betraying one of the foundational pieces, because there was an issue with Jalen Ramsey this year. They didn't move him around. Well, we didn't want to move him around and tip our hand for what we were doing on our coverage. We wanted to force the quarterback to do all his processing after the snap. It's totally fair. But if that's going to be a red hot ideology across the league, teams that move safeties around are not going to be moving safeties around, and you're not going to see that in the same level of frequency. And then you just said the prevalence of quarters in too high coverage, and guys, we're just deeper than the deepest. We're capping explosive plays. You got to run from 18 yards of depth and fit the run to your half the field. You kind of become like a glorified special teams, like kick return type player in some of those instances, right? Playing the run, you're running down on kickoff. Yeah, I got 20 yards of space. I got to take a good angle. I'm not in the fit because I'm playing half field, split field, deep coverage. So who's going to have the recipe to put the value back in these players? And that's where I think pressure-heavy schemes will find a lot more value in safeties than zone match and more vanilla style defenses. But nobody's just sitting in cover 3 anymore and calling it a day, where you need a high post safety. And even then you get bail technique and half turn on the outside.
Yep.
And the corners are taking third. So it's not even like you need the center field type player that you used to.
Stay leverage over the top, come down and make a tackle. We're not going to pay you $20 million a year to do it.
Right.
So the replaceability.
You pay these special teams players $1.5 million a year.
Right.
To run that on kickoff and tackle.
Ball skills are good. I think as you shift some of your scouting ideology, like I think some of the ball skills down the field becomes more attractive, and you still got to be able to tackle, right? Like you still have to be able to tackle, and you got to be smart and take good angles, but they're less featured, it seems, in some of the modern trends. All right, folks, we got even more to talk about when it comes to safety, so be sure to stick with us. Passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Folks, you shouldn't have to worry when you're looking to buy tickets to your next big event. Well, you don't have to, because Game Time is here, and it's a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They've got killer deals on last-minute tickets, all-in prices, a view from your seat, and a best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. The app is awesome, easy to navigate. They give you flash deals. And I love this. When you buy a ticket from Game Time, they send it straight to your phone. You don't have to dig through emails to find it. It is super, super easy. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
In a perfect transition back to something we've already talked about with an ad with one of our partners on the show. If you can wait this long, you can use Game Time for your tickets to Mike Tyson fighting against Jake Paul, July 20th at AT&T Stadium.
That's Jerry World?
Yeah.
Like that many people, 100,000 people are going to go to this?
Would not be surprised.
Oh, my God.
Right? You can see why they do it. You can see why Jake Paul got into boxing. Speaking of Jerry World, did you see anything that Dalton Schultz had to say about the Cowboys culture the other day?
No. He
was talking about one of the reasons why, like he didn't say it was necessarily a bad thing, but he said it was like it's very different than Houston. He said like in Dallas, you'd be like working out. There'd always be tours of the facility going on. So you'd be like doing your power lifts for your workout, and people would be like banging on the one-way glass trying to get your attention and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm reading this, so like, man, it sounds like the zoo.
Yeah, that's weird.
You know?
Yeah.
Like we're on display while we work out for fans as they tour the facility. That has to be so weird.
Cowboys fans aren't big fans of Dalton Schultz. It's one thing I've learned.
Yeah, there's some sour grapes there, huh?
I think that's when you're replacing Jason Witten. I don't know, man. Maybe that's just what it is. So I thought he's a pretty good player.
He's a good player. Don't let Dallas Cowboys fans tell you otherwise, Texans fans. Speaking of power lifts, I know we got to get into the safety class, but I smacked the heck out of my collarbones doing power cleans yesterday at the gym. Joe and I are now big CrossFitters this year. Well, Joe was big CrossFitter last year, and I signed up this year. And so I've been getting back in the swing of Olympic-style lifts, which I haven't done in 10 years. So every time we do them, I talk to Joe and complain about what I did wrong and what part of my body I'm feeling on any given day.
A little over a year in, and I'm still in the same boat. Okay, Kyle Crabbs. We got to organize ourselves here, man. There's so many players to get to.
We're good. How many quality starters are available at safety? Let's do it this way.
Okay. Kamren Curl. Just admit that he is.
Agree to disagree. Okay.
Xavier McKinney.
Yes. Well, is McKinney? Yeah.
Jordan Whitehead.
How about Quandre Diggs? Let's go Quandre Diggs.
Yeah. Quandre Diggs is a good one. Alohi Gilman. Alohi Gilman was a quality starter last year.
He was a very good starter for them last year. I worry about Gilman outside of a scheme where you know what you're going to get to pay him potential money, though. I think there may be regression depending on where he lands. What about, put Simmons in cornerstone bucket still at this stage in his career? I think he is like a step slower than what he was at his peak. Put him in quality starter bucket. He's at least a quality starter.
Yeah, he's a quality starter.
Gardner Johnson in the right role. That was kind of the reaction I had to Jordan Whitehead. Like, meh.
He certainly didn't inspire much with last season.
I think DeShaun Gibson took a step back for San Francisco this year, where I think if you asked me this time last year, I would have had Gibson as a quality starter for the 49ers.
We argued about that one last summer. I remember that one.
The thing I had with Whitehead is I think for as good of a striker as he is as a tackler, I do think his open field tackling is a little touchy to put him in a quality starter bucket. But I think he's an adequate starter for sure. Then you get into Julian Blackmon.
Good player.
I think the floor there is adequate starter. Jayron Kearse with the Cowboys. A little bit of a more like an Alohi Gilman. There's like a more specific type of role for him, and he's better low to the line of scrimmage. But I think if you can play him in that style, does he go to Washington and follow Dan Quinn? If Kamren Curl leaves? There you go. We're doing segment 3 stuff in segment 2. We're never gonna be consistent here. Jordan Fuller with the Rams.
Yeah, Fuller's interesting, man. Like, and that's a great example of a guy he doesn't have a lot of physical upside. Played what I think did the Rams play the highest amount of quarters of any team last year?
I don't have that off.
They're really high up. They're really high up. So it's like a perfect example of what we're talking about. Keep it in front of you, make a few plays on the ball, tackle. Right? That's what he does. Yep. The Rams deployed the highest amount of two high safety looks in the NFL over the last.
There you go.
Yep. So there you go.
John Johnson, who they signed in August for like $1 million, and Jordan Fuller, both expiring contracts. And John Johnson played like 97% of snaps for the Rams this year.
Yeah, that Rams secondary, like that's what I'm starting to think about Cooper DeJean as a real fit for the Rams. Like depending on who they can bring back.
Between him and Akella Witherspoon, the Rams got like dirt cheap good play.
That's what they had to do, right? It's for what does that say about Raheem Morris too? Like,
yeah,
I'm pretty excited about him in Atlanta, right?
But I mean, I remember doing my free agent scouting, and I'm watching John Johnson and Akella Witherspoon as like fixtures in the Rams safety. I'm like, dude, these guys are playing good. They saw it well. We didn't mention Darnell Savage.
Yeah, I think what's really been interesting about Darnell Savage is because I've watched him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You watched him at Maryland, and you're really excited about some of the tackling and some of the man coverage upside from the slot. He's been a much better like center fielder.
Yeah.
Like further away from the ball. So like maybe the versatility is not what we thought coming out of Maryland. But if you're looking for that one high guy, I think he'd be a good fit. Where are you at with Eddie Jackson?
I don't know. The things that made Eddie so good are the things that aren't really the deal in the league anymore, right?
Yeah.
If you outline it, the criteria for desired safety play in the league right now is deep half-field coverage, tackling well, and ball skills. Eddie checks one box there.
Yeah.
So that's where I think it's tough. And then it's like, okay, like he is one of the older players on this market. There's a lot of guys coming off rookie deals.
Yep.
And so Eddie Jackson probably becomes a 1-year contract for a modest dollar amount. I don't know. He's missed 5 games in each of the last 2 seasons. He'll be 31 years old.
You know who's tough? A guy that's tough for me to reconcile because the last 2 years are so much different than the first 2 years. It's Jeremy Chinn. Carolina Panthers. Like you watched him the first 2 years in the NFL, you thought this guy was going to reset everything as we knew about the safety positions. Last 2 years, injuries, but then like I talked to some Panthers people and they're like, well, he just didn't fit Jairo Avero's scheme. 6'3", 220 pounds. Like
it's more of a positionless type player.
Yeah. He's tough for me right now. Like, is he just like is he a sub package player at this point?
He's a big dime linebacker. He's probably,
and we know like Tennessee last year ran a ton of like 4-1-6. Where are those coaches? Wherever those coaches are, think about them for Jeremy Chinn.
New England, but they've got Duggar on the transition tag.
Could you imagine Duggar and Chinn on the same team?
With why am I blanking on him? The other safety there had a really good year. Michigan Wolverines, first-round pick. Total brain fart. You did this. I did this to you the other day. Julie Peppers.
Oh, Jabril Peppers.
Jabril Peppers.
Yeah, he was awesome, and they re-upped him already, right? Like,
yeah.
He was a player that I wanted the Bills to sign last offseason. They got him for like 1 year, $3 million, and he was awesome last year.
Yep.
Who's kind of like exactly. What were the three things? Split zone coverage, tackling, and ball skills.
Yeah.
Hello, Jabril Peppers. Right, like
right. So I think we've exhausted just about every name that I have on my list. We didn't mention Rayshon Jenkins as a cut, and we didn't mention DeShon Elliott from Miami, who I think has two of the three. The ball skills aren't there.
And tackling, I saw that guy made a tackle that I think about it once a week. I think
about
that.
Tackle
I think about it once a week.
Defied the laws of physics.
Nothing will ever make sense about that play. Kevin Byard. Did we even get into Kevin Byard? He's out there. Terrell Edmunds, like kind of sort of some of those boxes he could check. It's even Mike Edwards is a depth player. I mean, finds his way into some starting roles. There's guys. There's guys on top of guys.
So we covered the names. Now, as far as like how you value them and what guys are highest demand, and I think a big thing for this group with how deep it is like who gets multi-year contracts. Because there's a whole churn, 30 to 40% of every single roster is going to change year over year. Not a lot of pillar players at this position right now. So teams probably like that flexibility of a 1-year deal. There's a lot of names to pick from. So that's the next stage of this conversation.
We'll sort that out here in just a moment. So be sure to stick with us. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you could still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this now, through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC is a registered broker-dealer.
Our good friend Peter Bukowski with more reinforcement of the insanity of this safety class. And I know season and game grades for Pro Football Focus, some people take it with a grain of salt. It's not the be-all, end-all, right? But it's another data point of measuring player performance. How many of the top 30 safeties in the league do you think are free agents right now, according to Pro Football Focus's grades from last season?
It might be half, maybe more.
It's 10 of the top 30. And then if you extend it to the top 39, it's 13. So 1 out of every 3 of the top 39, like 40 safeties in the league, according to Pro Football Focus's grades last year. And like Justin Simmons didn't grade well last year. Kamren Curl was 39th. Like those are players that are some of the more, for many people, of the more attractive names on the list.
Look at Kyle throwing a straight Kamren Curl.
Kamren Curl, I got to do it.
He's going to be your player. It's a big ticket Dolphins signing.
I got to tell you.
I'm getting Keon Coleman. You're getting Kamren Curl.
The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And I don't think they're going to pay relative to what they need at some other spots for what that market.
Geno Stone, come on down.
Would not be interested, but we didn't really touch on Geno Stone.
Weaver.
I know Anthony Weaver, defense coordinator there. You're going to go through some fits. But
do you remember Geno Stone coming out?
You remember?
No, seriously, let's do this. Do you remember him coming out? And I think I might have texted you at some point. I was like, man, I kind of like Geno Stone. You're like, well, he's kind of boring. I was like, yeah, you're right. He is boring, but he's where he's supposed to be. He's got a little bit of ball production. He tackles. Well, hello, 2023 NFL, where that's all you have to do.
I seem to recall liking Geno Stone when he came out.
You did, but you thought he was boring.
Yes, there's an unsexy, unspectacular, but that's kind of what they want with this position right now a little bit too, right?
Yeah. Don't be dumb. Like, don't get us beat. Be where you're supposed to be. Don't allow somebody behind you. Don't allow the explosive plays, right? That we want to limit explosive plays. We want to make you execute 9, 10, 11 plays to score on us. Kyle has his hand up.
I put my hand up because we just had the conversation in the car on the way to preschool today.
Oh,
preschool told
we
me yesterday when I picked her up. She didn't ask for it. She's not speaking up and asking for help. And
you're talking about your daughter?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, like I'll talk to her. So in the car today, I'm like, hey, what's up with it not asking for help? She's 3, right? So
yeah, you hit her with, hey, what's up with this? Is that what you
said? Yes, that's what I did. She said, oh, my tongue was asleep. I couldn't speak loud. I said, okay.
She said that? She said that? Yeah. Whoa, that's a heck of an excuse.
Right. So I said, okay, well, I want you to make sure that if you need help with something that you're able to ask your teachers. They're there to teach you, but they're also there to help you. So if your tongue's asleep at school, you can raise your hand and hold it in the air until they call on you or come over and check on you. So I just had that conversation with her so that it felt appropriate. I didn't want to take a timeout. I don't want to burn my timeouts. I know we're getting close to the end of the game here, but you just never know when you're going to need your timeouts. So I raised my hand instead. And my question is, with what we've talked about the evolution of safety skill sets and coveted skill sets, what position group do you think that in turn creates the most stress on? Like, what's the position group that takes the responsibility of
linebackers? Linebackers.
I'm inclined to agree with you, right? Because it's the second level wave of the middle of the field coverage. And you have to cover the space, and you have to be the first arriving point of attack tackler in a lot of those instances. And you're dealing with deficiency and fits behind you with depth and fitting the run. So kind of a fascinating... You pull one string and it's not just you're pulling one string, right? Like you're impacting the whole shirt.
Let me ask you a question. And don't look it up. Do not look this up. This is a good trivia question. How many safeties right now in the National Football League are making an average annual salary of north of $10 million? How many
8.
total? Oh, 8. Okay. That's you did pretty good here. The answer is 12. 12.
Okay. Now, how many of those players were cut?
Well,
cut, so it's 11.
So no, these are current active. Like, none of these guys are cut. These are all players that are on teams.
Is Justin Simmons on the list?
No, he's not on the list because he's
okay. Cool.
He doesn't have any salary.
I'm just making sure that it didn't come down.
Yeah, here's the list. It's Derwin James at 19, Minka at 18, Antoine Winfield Jr. on the tag at 17. Jesse Bates at 16, Harrison Smith at 16, Budda Baker at 14 3/4, Marcus Williams 14, Kyle Duggar on the tag 13-8, Jalen Thompson 12, Grant Delpit 12, Justin Reed 10.5, Amani Hooker 10. That's it. Whole list.
Jalen Thompson is the dumbest contract on that list.
He's just low key been a pretty good player for the Cardinals, right? But
yeah,
is he the 10th best safety in the NFL?
And he was 8th before the franchise tag deadline passed this year.
Yeah.
That's what bit me is I forgot about the tag guys this year.
Yeah, I thought your guess was outstanding. I thought you might have guessed 15.
No, that market's pretty low. I mean, and I remember us talking about it last year when Von Bell signed for 7. And it's like, dude, this is all this dude could get with $7 million.
Makes sense. Yeah, like we were talking Poyer last year. Everybody knew Poyer wanted the Harrison Smith deal.
He wanted the Harrison Smith money.
Wants the Harrison Smith. 2 years, $11.5 million
contract. Didn't make it to the second year of it.
Yeah, and there was always that out that the run. What do you call it? Exit ramps. That's your phrase. I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
They had an exit ramp after 1 year, and the Bills obviously took it. Like, So apply that to this group. Like, who's joining the 10 million club? That's what I was wanting to get to.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Ross. We're at the 30-minute mark. We're going to keep going.
I didn't hear from Ross Jackson.
I didn't hear from Ross yesterday.
All right.
He said, "Oh, they did a mock draft. I've been tuned in to hear it."
So let's see. Does he listen to today? So he would miss yesterday. He would miss today. And if he did listen and he's here at the 30-minute mark, well, welcome aboard, Ross Jackson.
Correct. We're in the end game now. What did I see Marcus May's going to get cut?
I've seen that. Yeah,
we didn't even mention him.
Yeah. McKinney gets north of 10. McKinney gets north of 10.
Yes. Now, Mulgeta's going to have his hands full. What do you give me thumbs up for?
That's how I'm counting. When I chose to start counting on my hand, I chose with the thumb. I have no explanation
why you're doing the FaceTime bubble thing right now.
But look, did you see that on the screen? Did you see the thumbs up? Is that a thing?
Yes, that's what I'm asking you.
Does it turn one?
You got to put it away now, and now bring it back. No, in the frame. And there you go.
Oh, wow. Oh, unbelievable. The podcast is taking on a new life here.
Imagine not watching on YouTube.
Can you do a heart?
Does the heart work? Hey!
Oh, baby. Whoa, what is going on?
Don't even, if you're just listening on audio, don't bother trying to figure out what's happening. Okay? Just ride with us here. We're post 30 minutes. You never know what you're going to get right now. Does Aloha work?
I don't know. I'm trying.
All right, stop. Just stop. Wait, stop. We need to do $10 million.
I tried. I said McKinney. I think he gets north of 10.
Yeah, and I was interjecting to say Mulgeta's going to have his hands full. Because Mulgeta's, I believe Mulgeta's a McKinney guy. And I think Mulgeta has doesn't he have Derwin James?
Imagine thinking I could sit here and rip off the inventory of clients at David Mulgeta, especially because he didn't respond to my email a few years ago.
Yeah. Mulgeta has Derwin James. Does he have Minka? I know he's got a bunch of the top safeties. No, Minka's with Siegel. Who else was at the top of that list?
Of the highest paid safeties?
Yes.
Or the
highest
James, Fitzpatrick, Winfield, Bates, Harrison Smith, Buda Baker, Marcus Williams, Kyle Duggar, Jalen Thompson.
Okay, so Jesse Bates and Derwin James both have Mulgeta. So
he has one
and now he's
4.
And now he's got McKinney coming.
Yeah, he's going to have 3 of the $10 million a year safeties.
I don't think any of the older guys get it though.
Curl.
I just meant Simmons, Diggs, Byard as the
Yeah, I would agree with. No doubt. Spielberger on PFF has $12.5 million per for Curl.
Okay,
he's got McKinney at 13.5.
I think McKinney gets, I would say north of that, but I also don't know. Do we want to count both the guys on the tag? Because I think both of those guys will get deals done. What benefit would the Patriots have to not get a deal done on Duggar?
Well, so the transition tag is they can match.
Yeah, they're gonna let the rest of the league dictate his market, and then they just match it.
Yeah. And are you really going to be in hot pursuit of Kyle Duggar? Why do you have to be? He's a good player. I'm not taking away from Kyle Duggar. He's really good.
Right. Why'd they use that tag? Why'd they use that tag? Why was that the player that they tagged, I guess? You're going to let Wayne hit free agency versus
Wayne
Duggar?
representing himself.
Right.
I have no idea. Especially because the Patriots have literally tons of cap space.
Correct. And
nobody can outstructure it.
Mayo,
it's almost like they want to say, "Oh, nice try. We'll take him back." You know what I mean?
And we're going to lowball your offer, and nobody's going to give you anything else.
It's a competitive advantage. They want other teams to think they can sign Kyle Duggar and pause their other pursuits. And at the end of the day, it's yeah, you try to structure it in such a way that we won't match, we will.
So Winfield, McKinney, Duggar, and Curl.
I think it's a whole list. I think it's it.
I'd take the under if you set it at 4, though. I think somebody disappoints because I think somebody's impacted Kamren Curl on the depth of this class.
Kyle is going to dunk so hard if Curl comes in under 10.
I would never.
Yes, you would.
I would just text you. But honestly, in this safety class, even if you think Curl's a good player, is he not fourth out of those 4 guys.
Yeah, he's fourth out of those 4 guys.
And then you got the vets on the 1-year deals. Quandre Diggs is a better player. Justin Simmons is still a better player. Kevin Byard played well last year. What's my incentive to drop what will be a top 15 contract in this safety class for the 7th best guy on the market? I don't know. Who gets multi-year deals? And then we'll wrap.
McKinney,
Winfield, Duggar.
Can't you see some like 2 years, 8 million, 2 years, 9, 2 years, 7?
Oh, who gets more than 2 years? Like who gets
Like,
long-term investments?
I think that's, if 3 years is where I think it gets interesting.
Who gets long-term investments?
Maybe nobody. I mean, honestly, it might be nobody outside of those top 4. I don't think there's a 3-year deal here.
If you could pick one outside of the top 4 for you, who would you have the most appetite for a multi-year contract in?
Gilman, I guess. I don't know, man.
Gilman? I think it's Julian Blackmon for me.
Probably a bunch of 1 and 2 year deals.
Yep. So there you go. There's a safety class. And that's why we chose to put it at the front. Give me the heart again. Because we love all of our listeners here on Locked On NFL Scouting. Why do you do that with your other thumb? Point the thumbs down. Thumbs down. Don't stack the thumbs.
It happened. The hearts came on the screen. Well, why don't you get a heart up there, Kyle? I haven't seen one.
I don't know why mine doesn't do it. It's because you got the new computer.
You think it's the new computer?
It's the software in the new computer.
Okay.
Joe got a new computer, and now he's Mr. Bigwig with all his FaceTime live action shots that pop up on the screen. It's for our audio production. Take it off and now put it back on.
The problem is my aim is not good. Close the show, Kyle.
We're out of here. Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino, Locked On NFL Scouting. You can find us on YouTube wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Please check out the post 30-minute part of today's show, at least on YouTube, just for a day if you're a listener. We love all you guys. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back again tomorrow to talk about the rest of the defensive free agents waiting next week.